Hello. Ah, I just caught the end of L's. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for having me on. This is incredible. Hello, everyone. For those of you, and I am just popping on. Here we go. Here we go. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen Stoney. I am a sober woman. I have been sober for over 15 years from drugs and alcohol. I am a mom to 2 little boys, a happily married wife to an incredible man for coming up here on 12 years. And I truly live this amazing life because of what I'm going to take you through today. Surrender is something near and dear to my heart. And I have the amazing life I have today because of the art of surrender. So what I do is I help women in recovery reclaim and truly surrender into their sacred sexuality, set boundaries, open up their hearts to love, and be their unapologetic selves. And getting to do this, I am a #1 international best-selling author. I have been listed as the top 100 most inspirational women in the world and been featured as a regular guest expert on the Fox and the CW, as well as I'm the creator and founder of Jen Stoney Coaching, and I am the host of the Unapologetic Woman podcast. And there's an incredible podcast interview with the amazing Suzanne Goldstein. So I encourage you to go check that out. Suzanne, I absolutely adore you. I love us. And I love that we got to meet and connect. And that cab ride was just so amazing. And then we got to sit in the airport together, eat food for an hour. It was just such a treat. And you're truly just one of my soul sisters. And thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for creating this beautiful, expansive space for people to truly see how equality and beauty and love can truly heal this world and bring world peace to us all. So I am just I'm so excited to be a part of this. So we're gonna dive right into all things. I love you, Cynthia. I'm gonna put my phone up here so I can readjust it. And I love you, love you. And so, I'm going to show you some practices today about the art of surrender. And like I said, surrendering saved my life. I coach what I coach. I mentor who I mentor. I teach what I teach because of the experience that I have walked through, the things that I have released, and truly the life that I live today is such a gift. And it's because of surrendering. Surrendering has allowed for me to be sober, has allowed for me to heal and walk through a marriage who was impacted by infidelity in our first year of marriage. It has allowed for me to walk through postpartum depression and also allowed for me to heal from sexual trauma and allowed for me to close the largest promotion that a female has ever done in the history of a company in a male-dominated field in the auto industry. Surrendering is one of my greatest gifts and powers and has allowed me to live this life, and it can allow you to live that life too. So let me know in the comments, what's your thoughts on surrendering? If I look back 15 years ago, over 15 years ago when I got sober, the word surrender wasn't so beautiful. It wasn't so fun and like, oh, I'm surrendering. No, surrendering meant like you were waving a white flag and you were giving up. Like that's honestly what I viewed surrender to be before I truly embraced surrender for fully what it is. And surrender defined in the dictionary, like this is so cool, is resistance to an enemy or an opponent. Let me say that again. Surrender, defined as resistance to an enemy or an opponent. It's not giving up. It's true trust. Surrender to me, it's truly coming out of your mind and it's coming back in your body. And so I coach a lot of women on that sacred sexuality, reconnecting with themselves, livening up their sexual desires, owning what they want in the bedroom, while also learning how to surrender in the bedroom and experience more pleasure than ever before. I'll never forget, recently I had a client say, she goes, Jen, I experienced a 30-minute orgasm because I was able to surrender in the bedroom. And that's a woman who had walked through a traumatic past. So surrender is having that body confidence. It's being open, it's trusting, it's connected, it's bringing your fullness out, that unapologeticness. To not surrender, it's when you have that second guessing, that low self-esteem, that body shame. You're trying to be someone or something else for someone else. And so before I truly go into this story, I want to bring up the hockey game the other night. Okay. So I was watching the playoff game with Vegas versus the Florida Panthers. And so anybody else watch that game? It was a really great game. Also, Vegas won 7-2. And I mean, it was like in the first period, if you wanted to go shots on goal, the Florida Panthers had more shots on goal than Vegas. However, they ended the first period and Vegas was up 2-0. Do you ever feel like you are coming in to this world, you're coming into your work environment, you are creating a business, you are coming into a negotiation, maybe one of the toughest negotiations you've ever done in your life, and you're putting everything on the line, yet you're going into it like the Florida Panthers did, which means they lost, okay? And here's the reason why, is because when we aren't our unapologetic selves, when we aren't doing things with our essence, with our flavor and our alignment, with our true beingness, meaning we have that resistance to an enemy or an opponent, and we are truly surrendering. Because when you're trying to be something else than yourself, you can't, there's no way you can truly shine in your essence and be of service to this world at the highest capacity. To be of service to this world in the highest capacity, you need to be your unapologetic self. And you could be like, Jen, how does this have anything to do with the art of surrender? Here's the thing. 80% of issues in the bedroom are solved outside of the bedroom. And so when clients come to work with me and we uncover, we unravel, we peel away, if you can't tell a server what you want more of or less of, if we can't do that, how are you supposed to tell somebody what you want more or less of in the bedroom? Right? So here, I'm going to take it back to the game. So after the game, they did a post recap, and there was like five men on this panel doing a post recap. And Wayne Gretzky, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, was there as a part of the five. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be good, right? So Wayne Gretzky responded to a question, and he goes, the problem here is that the Florida Panthers are attempting to play like the Vegas team. They need to play like the Florida Panthers. They're attempting to play like somebody else. They're attempting to be Vegas. They need to play like the Florida Panthers. Once they play as the Florida Panthers, once they come together as a team and they utilize their gifts together, they'll dominate. And I mean, I'm changing some of his words per se, right? But all in all, that's the gist of what he said. And I was like, man, it was so powerful. It was so eloquent. He said it so assertively and simply. And I want you to tell me, have you ever thought, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do something like somebody else? Hey, Brittany, I'm going to do something like somebody else. I'm going to do the strategy. I'm going to wear the same colors. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say the words that this person says. I'm going to go in and close the deal like Jim closed the deal yesterday. He closed the deal, so I'm going to do what he does to close the deal. And it didn't work because it wasn't you. just like the Florida Panthers lost that game 7-2 because, as Wayne Gretzky said, they were attempting to play like Vegas instead of owning and playing together as a team like themselves, like the Florida Panthers. They made it that far in the playoffs because they're that good, but they didn't own their power. They didn't surrender. They didn't resist to an enemy or an opponent. They were going up here. They were getting lost instead of finding clarity and coming within and owning their strengths, right? So for me, in my journey, if you want to hear my story, feel free, go on my podcast, Unapologetic Woman. I go in depth in it. But to sum it up, I am somebody who was arrested 3 times. I faced jail time. I had been to the psychiatric ER. I have gone through sexual traumatic experience. I was raped the first time I had sex. I was sexually assaulted countless times. I've worked at a strip club and as a cocktail waitress, and the list goes on and on. And, the first time I was raped, I numbed it and I blocked it out. The assaults happened. And there are several times where I would have been raped more, but I wasn't because of my strength. And I have upper body strength and I was able to push them off. And by the grace of God, I was able to run from the room. So forever, I stopped surrendering. Surrendering is out of your mind and into your body. I was running from myself at full force. I was running so fast, and I was using substances to numb out when those feelings came up. I was avoiding my true power. I was avoiding my true essence. I hated myself. And I used men was my second drug of choice. So like alcohol and men, like hand in hand. And I did this repeatedly until it didn't work anymore. And it was like I kept having to use more and more of the substances. And then I just became exhausted. And I met this man. And he was amazing. He is amazing. And it was the first man who called me on my bullshit and didn't let me manipulate and control him with sex. It was the first man who truly wanted to get to know me. And in this moment, I realized I had met an incredible man. And I knew that if I wanted to keep that man in my life, I couldn't get drunk. That was my plan. So this guy saw me drink about 3 to 4 times, right? Oh, is anybody else having connection issues? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. And so I had this beautiful opportunity to get sober. I was on probation. I was going to get locked up. Okay. Oh, great, Suzanne. Thank you. I was going to get locked up. Thank you, Nicole. I was going to go to jail. And I was still drinking. So I was like, okay, he just can't see me drunk, right? So what did I do? I monitored my drinking, which was horrible, by the way. I was like, why does anybody have one drink? This is so painful. And so I decided to go to a 12-step meeting. And I walked into that meeting. I was 30 minutes late. You're never late for a meeting, okay? And so I walked in, and the moment I walked in, a woman stood up that looked like me and was sharing my story. And she had the life that I wanted. She was graduating a Big Ten college, University of Michigan. She was marrying an amazing man. She had a great career. She had a great life. She was in the best shape of her life. And she stood with this unshakable confidence. And I said, I want what she has. So I stayed after that meeting to talk to her and to say, the sponsor thing, what does this mean? And I wanted to work with her. Well, the rest is history. And here I am today, over 15 years sober from drugs and alcohol. But here's the thing is that I got sober and I surrendered as much as I could. at the time that I was capable of doing. But I surrendered and I kept the walls up. I pushed people away. I controlled. I white knuckled it. Yes, I went to the meetings. Yes, I did some step work. Yes, I worked with a sponsor, but I wasn't open to people. Now, let me know. Have you ever done something, right, where it's like, I'm doing it just enough? I did it just enough. My nervous system did it like just enough. Yes. By surrendering. Surrendering got me sober. Surrendering kept me sober. And surrendering doesn't just happen just once. I surrendered every day. Every day I surrendered until the obsession to drink was gone and the noise in my mind quieted a little bit. But here's the thing is I surrendered as much as I could. And I say I surrendered as much as I could because what I did was I replaced alcohol with my boyfriend, who is my husband to this day. And I used him as my higher power to tell me how amazing I was. And if he didn't tell me how amazing I was, I didn't feel worthy. I also used school. I went back to college and I was on the honor roll. I was taking 26 credit hours. I was planning a wedding. We got engaged, all the things. I got into the second bachelor's dietetics program that was one of the top in the nation. I was in the greatest shape of my life. You would think like, you looked at me and you'd be like, oh my God, she has it all. But I was hanging on by a thread. I was controlling. Every day I was like, who can I be? What can I say so that I can get love? I would connect with myself just enough to avoid, to distract. I was running a mile a minute, full force to get away from myself still. And because of that, I also walked away from my recovery support system. I stopped connecting with people. I started isolating. I started overachieving to a point where it was like I was pushing so hard to get the achievements, to get the awards, because that is what's going to make me happy. Right? I'm second of 7 children of an Italian Catholic family, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to get love. And I thought, okay, I'm going to achieve like all the rest of them, and then I'll be accepted. Have you ever felt that way? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever attempted to be somebody else to get love? Dress a certain way, go to a certain church, tell somebody that you believe in something. Maybe it's political views. Maybe it's you go into a certain career so that you can get love and attention. Maybe you dress a certain way that's truly out of alignment of your true beingness, right? And it's truly to get something. When you're trying to get something, you're not trusting, you're pushing away, you're manipulating, you're controlling, and there's nothing surrendering about that. That is all ego and pride. And like I said, I mean, everything looked great. And I say this all the time. I was a dressed up trash can. I was a dressed up trash can. Everything looked good on the outside, but it was just a total, right? Yeah, Maya. It looked really good on the outside. I had the ring. I had the fiance. I had the brand new car. I had the graduated from school with honors, got into the second bachelor's program, all of it. But here's the thing. I ran from healing my sexual trauma. I ran from healing me. I didn't come back home to myself. I avoided, I ran, I pushed. I became one of the most self-righteous assholes ever. I pushed my husband away. I demanded, and here's the thing. We got married and there was a lot of issues. The foundation was not solid because my foundation wasn't solid. His foundation wasn't solid. And here's the thing is that the universe, and you'll hear from Cynthia Stant coming up next. And I love how she says this. The universe is going to send us feathers It's going to send us pebbles, and it's going to send us mother effing boulders. And I woke up to the boulder because those feathers came, those pebbles came, and I kept running and avoiding and pushing away and forcing. But when that boulder came, I woke up. And here's the thing is that the infidelity in my first year of marriage, I was 4 years sober. 4 years sober. Oh, my absolute pleasure, Miriam. I'm so happy you're here. Yes, yes. And that's the thing, is that we never really do know what's going on, which is another importance of why showing kindness and love to people is so important. And so here I was, first year of marriage. We were fighting, arguing. I was not being a loving partner. I was not showing up for this marriage. I was being so self-righteous, so controlling, so manipulative. And, you know, my husband and I both had options, right? And he had options to come to me with things, which he did countless times, and I pushed him away, and I was a jerk. Because here's the thing is that I wasn't working on my recovery. And when somebody with a substance use disorder doesn't work on their recovery, they become what often people call a dry drunk. What's a dry drunk? Somebody who they're an asshole. You wish they would use, because then you'd have something to blame it on. I was so self-righteous. I was not surrendering. I was controlling and pushing and manipulating, and I was all up here. I was all up here. And my husband had an affair with a woman who I thought was a friend of mine. And so that brought me to my deep rock bottom, my deep rock bottom. And so again, I found myself in a place where I had the choice. And here's the thing, we all have the choice. We all have the choice each and every day. So, and what did I do? I knew about this affair. And so what did I do? I pushed, I controlled, I manipulated. I wouldn't tell anybody, because I was like, if anyone finds out about this, they'll think I'm a failure. I'll be the laughing stock. I felt so ashamed. I felt horrible. I felt disgusted. I was horrified. First year of marriage and your husband has an affair with a woman who you thought was a friend of yours. Like, I had just thrown this woman a divorce party. Okay. Like I had just, yeah. So we look at this, and I was running. And here's the thing is that I had a career in the auto industry. I had the degree, I had the health, I had the body, I had the looks, yet I was miserable because I had never truly come back home to myself in sobriety. I had never truly learned how to fully surrender and lean back and trust. And know that co-creating and trusting myself allows for me to trust somebody else, allows for me to have those vulnerable conversations. You want to talk about intimacy? Intimacy has 4 parts: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. Only one of those has to do with sex. And by the way, physical intimacy is not just sex. It can be rubbing someone's back and telling them how great of a job they did and how much they mean to you, touching their hand while they're talking and connecting with their eyes. Intimacy is about truly into me, see. But we can't do that when we're go, go, go. And when I realized, here I was, by the way, I was puking up blood. I had horrible diarrhea. I had horrible digestive issues. And I came to find out I had 2 burning ulcers in my stomach. My body was screaming at me. And so it was in that moment that I got to make a choice. I got to make a true choice. Right, Suzanne? Do I surrender that much more? Do I surrender and stay sober? Or do I pick up a drink? And by the way, I had a drink an inch away from my mouth, okay? Like I had a choice. We all do. Surrender happens when we accept. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. You know, in the 12 steps, there's a whole prayer about acceptance, and acceptance truly is. But here's the thing. Once you accept, you then decide. Once you decide, you take action. that action that you choose to take, you're going to lose something. And so what comes next? You're going to grieve the loss of the thing you lose because of accepting. And then you celebrate the rebirth of your new self. You cannot surrender without accepting. Truly surrendering is truly being honest, open, and willing, and trusting. It's co-creating with a higher power, co-creating with the universe, with God, whoever it is that you call source, that divine energy within you that has all the answers. And I chose to come back home to myself. And I thought, everything's going great. And then what happened 3 days before our 1-year anniversary? My husband walked out. He filed divorce and he drained our bank account. So here I was, alone, my worst fear, because what also came forward is me healing from my codependency. Because now I was alone in a condo, which, by the way, my husband came back to clear out half the condo when I was at work one day. So I came home to like an empty family room. And the bank account's drained. And right then and there, here I am, a woman who was in a very unhealthy financial relationship as well. I was relying solely on him in a toxic way financially, and never healed my financial wounds from the wreckage I had caused in my drinking and using. And so I had to pick up I love that book, Hilda. That book is amazing. I've done so many book studies on it. It's so incredible. Highly endorsed. And so here I was. I had to figure out, pay the bills, and figure out my money situation real quick. And so I chose, I'm going to do this. I'm a woman who I know how to get it done. I know how to make it. I know how to make it happen, but I was exhausted. I didn't want to make it happen anymore. I wanted to co-create. I wanted to do something different, because I saw in that time, one night when I was crying my eyes out, I couldn't get to sleep because I was crying so hard. I wrote a list of all the men I had been with. And I wrote a list on how those relationships ended, all the fears, all the things. And this just came through me. God told me to write it down. I wrote it down. And I looked at this list and I was like, holy shit. All the men changed, kept changing, but I stayed the same. I'm the repeating pattern, which I was so sad. But then I was also like, wait a second, this means that I play a part. I play a role, which means I can take my power back today. I can heal this. I can choose to do differently, because I never wanted to feel that pain ever again. And so what did I do? I said, all right, it's time. I went on a journey of healing my credit score. And I went on a journey of really revitalizing my life. And then I found out that I got an STD from my husband having an affair. And that was a new thing. That was something that really was a challenging one that took a long time. Yes, there's so much value in being yourself. But all of these things that somebody would be like, oh my gosh, these are the awakenings that I needed to bring me back home to myself. I found one of the most amazing women mentors. And here's the thing is that I could have moved into an apartment. I could have paid a mortgage. I could have, but I chose not to. I chose to give my full focus to myself. I chose to move in to the room above the garage at my parents' house and invest a mortgage payment into a coach, because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was like, enough's enough. I need to release this. I want to release this. I desire to release this. I am just sick and tired. I'm done with this. I've done this for my whole life with romance, and I'm so done with it. And here's the thing is that I had the financial success. I had the academic awards. I had all these things to say I was successful. You know, a lot of my clients come to me and they're very high achieving women who have all these things, but relationships are those reoccurring patterns and that stuckness. And a lot of them, before they come work with me, they're like, I mean, can I really have it all, Jen? Can I know I can have it all, but like, I already have all of this. I think that, you know, romance just isn't in the card for me. Thriving relationships, that's just not my thing. I can close deals. I can be an executive on this board. I can go in and be an amazing nurse, a doctor, a therapist, but romance, that's just not in the cards. And then we work together and they end up connecting with the partner of their dreams. And they end up seeing that there is there's true wealth that comes from having incredible, incredible relationships, because it starts here. My journey, when I came back home to myself and I chose to feel the feelings, I got off social media. I tightened my circle. I became very mindful who I spoke to, how I spoke, the thoughts I had. I journaled, I meditated, I did it. And I did it in an unorthodox way. And people didn't always understand. And some people weren't on board. And those people I chose to release from my life because I was willing to do what others weren't willing to do so I could have the life that others aren't willing to have. The people who criticize me for the way I did things are some of the same people who come up to me now today and say, how did you do it? I'm facing divorce in my marriage. And I'm like, how fascinating. You told me that I was crazy and doing everything in this weird way. So, you know, and Suzanne and I talked last week about this talk and about everything. And a huge part of my life is that I kept trying to do things like a man. And by the way, like I created great success. You know, you look at when the work that I did and what I created. Fast forward, by the way, my husband and I did hire divorce attorneys. We spent thousands of dollars. 3 weeks before finalizing our divorce, we reconciled. And then we dated while married. We dated and lived in separate homes for another 1.5 years. The patience, the surrender that it took for me to truly see that there was a gift in the surrendering in that 1.5 years. I just wanted to get back together and be enough. But I kept trusting. I kept going within. I kept surrendering. And I had that resistance to an enemy or an opponent. I sometimes would surrender like every minute, every hour. And I would get outside myself and be of service to the community and give back in my recovery field. Go to the detox, go to the rehab facilities and be of service and get outside myself so that I could see that there was more to life than what I thought was my problems in this little bubble. There was more to me than, okay, I need to create this great life and I'm going to just stay within this. No. Surrendering and being of service and truly letting other women know what was possible in sobriety, what was possible when you surrender and co-create with that divine source, with God, with your higher power. When you start to play and have fun, when you pull over on the side of the road and you dance in the flower meadows, that is such a gift. What I was able to do during that time and still able to do to this day is a privilege. Being sober for over 15 years, being able to have an amazing relationship where we have great sex, we have 2 kids, and truly, yeah, please drop your questions below. I'd love to answer it. It's attributed to surrendering. And sometimes I have to surrender more than others. And so one of the biggest things, so going through and stepping into this new marriage and created this solid foundation. And then we had our first child together. And after our first child, I looked at him and I said, I could see he was exhausted in his career. He was just like, you could just tell he was just he was so burnt out. And being the confident, empowered woman that I am, 1 month postpartum, by the way, I looked at him one day and said, if you don't want to go back to work, I'll go back to work. I can be our provider. I can be the breadwinner. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, if you want to quit tomorrow, like, no big deal. I got this. And when doing that, it allowed for me to then go back to work and negotiate the highest pay plan in the company's history that a female has ever negotiated. The way I did this was not the typical way. The way I did this was I learned the harmony of my masculine and my feminine. I learned how I set alarms on my phone, ladies. I would go into the bathroom several times a day to connect with my heart center. I would leave on lunch to meditate and connect with the divine source. Yes. As a finance manager at an auto dealership, I was going to surrender. I was opening up to the infinite possibilities. I was asking God, the divine, how to close these deals, how to get a car loan for somebody who they needed a car, and how to get that car. And I kept connecting with my feminine. I kept connecting, but then I kept showing up and doing in the masculine. And I had this beautiful synchronicity between the two, which led to me negotiating the highest pay raise ever in that company, 35 years for a female. And I did it from not showing up and doing it as a man. Remember the Florida Panthers that I shared with you at the beginning? We don't want to do it as somebody else. The Florida Panthers were trying to play like Vegas when Wayne Gretzky said they need to play like the Florida Panthers team and come together. So I stopped showing up as a man. Oh, what would a man do in the auto industry? How would a man close this deal as a finance manager? And I stopped doing that. And I started doing it on my terms. How would Jen Stoney close this deal? How would Jen Stoney come back home to herself, connect with infinite source, and come back and close this deal? Like the badass that I am. And I did that. And I closed deals. I helped people get vehicles. I negotiated things with banks where they did not want to give car loans to people because of their credit. And I negotiated and got it done because I connected to my intuition. I went within. 60 seconds of connecting with my heart space in the bathroom and then coming out and picking up that phone and talking to the bank. That's what closed the deals. It wasn't the numbers, because a lot of deals, it doesn't always make the sense. It's who can I talk to? It's using my networking abilities. It's using my relationships. Relationships are everything. Communication is everything. And when we do it from an unapologetic place with love and kindness, it's everything. By nurturing our own emotions and feelings first, we can understand and connect with others on a deeper level. Ah, yes, Sharon, yes. I love it. Thank you, Nicole. And that's truly what it is. And so when people saw my success in the auto industry, that success came from the feminine energy. I worked with a mentor. And it wasn't glamorous. I wasn't like in this beautiful office and everything was great. No, I was on the phone in the Kroger parking lot, sitting in my red Ford Focus in the back of the parking lot at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night on weekly calls with my coach. Because that's how I got it done. And it wasn't glamorous, but it created a life far beyond my wildest dreams. And you can do this too. It's in what is, and some days I would have to say, what's that one step I can take today to lead me towards the life of my dreams? What is that one thing that God is calling me to do today? What can I say? And more than anything, that really, really helped was really learning how and learning when to talk and when not to talk. And so I use this acronym, which I know a lot of my clients love, and it's WAIT. Why am I talking? And so I've really put myself in check. And that is, am I talking to get validation? Am I talking for somebody to tell me that I'm awesome? Am I talking to manipulate control? Or am I talking and sharing from a place of love, connection, and service? And when I continue to ask myself that question, I continue to listen so much more. I continue to connect more deeply. I continue to really, truly care about others. Surrender happens when we learn to trust ourselves. Surrender happens when we love ourselves. Surrender happens when we learn what we're okay with, what we're not. Surrender happens when we co-create with the universe. You want to talk about sexual desires? Your sexual desires in the bedroom, you will never be able to connect with those if you cannot learn to say thank you to someone when they're opening the door. If you can learn to stand up for yourself at work, in your marriage, and truly do it from a place of simplicity, of clarity, of love, of kindness, not abrasion, not rough, not wounded, but truly a place of connection. When you stand up for yourself and you truly vocalize what you're okay with and what you're not from a place of simplicity, people listen. Because you're listening to yourself. So they want to listen to you. People are an energetic match of what you're putting out there. And so really, surrender in the bedroom is to enhance love without working. It's letting oneself enjoy the romantic. We can enjoy that when we create more playfulness and excitedness, and we get out the gunk. We get out what is not serving you, and we welcome in the beauty, the love. Stop pushing and start connecting. Stop controlling and start connecting. Stop restricting and start receiving. Stop the go, go, go and start being. It's in the beingness. It's in the trusting. When we trust ourselves, we can then trust our ability to choose a partner that we can trust and surrender with in the bedroom. And then when we have those feelings of discomfort as a woman who has gone through sexual trauma countless times, I can say that when there is those feelings that come up, I can be honest with my partner. I can connect with him deeply in the moment. I can surrender because I can trust, because he can hold that space because I allow him to. And so when you're going throughout your day and you're thinking, how can I surrender? I want you to think, how can I connect? How can I listen? How can I come home to my heart center? Remember, we're going out of the mind and into the heart. When we go out of the mind and into the heart, you can close deals like never before. You can have those courageous conversations. You can create deep intimacy. You can say no to people and yes to yourself. And you can allow yourself to truly step into that role. There's a woman that I worked with who came to me and she had repeatedly had these romantic patterns and she was ending a relationship, which was really difficult, crawling out of her skin. She's sober. And she said, I just don't know. I said, I know. Take my knowingness, take my belief, and keep putting one foot in the front of the other. We're going to do these. I'm going to give you these tools, these methods. You're going to implement them, right? It's like I tell any of my clients, I'm going to give you the ingredients to the gourmet chocolate cake. You're going to bake the gourmet cake. And she did. She did the work. And what happened? She healed her heart. She came back home to herself. She met the partner of her dreams. And then she had to learn how to surrender, how to have that healthy communication, how to truly realign her nervous system for love in a way that her generational line has never done. And lo and behold, they're still married several years later. And they have a beautiful, beautiful family together. I got to stand up in her wedding. Another woman came to me, 18 years married, and they were having this disconnect. They had that roommate marriage. If any of you know what a roommate marriage looks like. She wanted to bring that passion and pleasure. And so we did work. We went deep. And after a whole month of working together, her husband wrote her a love card, the first love note that she had ever been given, and bought her a very intimate, beautiful piece of jewelry that had meaning to it. And she messaged me crying and was like, it worked. Another woman reconnected with the partner of her dreams and then was able to say, gosh, this was what I wanted, but then I realized this is not what I want, and was able to release it. You know, breaking up with somebody takes great power, and also trusting yourself and surrendering to knowing that you are worth it. You are worth it. We surrender when we trust ourselves, when we know that we are worth it. You have so much power within yourself. And so I want to invite you all to really take a moment, connect with your heartbeat. Also, if you have any questions, please pop them in. I love that you all are getting so much from this. I love reading your comments. If you have any questions, please pop them in there. And I want you to take a moment to connect with your heart center. We can ignite, this is the love that we create within us. It's in our power to create. The love that comes from friendships, from romantic relationships, from really connecting with people, that's the cherry on top. When you can ignite this love within you and you're overflowing, you're not looking and forcing and needing and manipulating. You're inviting, you're connecting, you're celebrating. And so I want to invite you to really take a moment to close your eyes, connect with your heart center. And it might take you a moment to feel your heartbeat. I want you to feel your heartbeat, feel it swirl around, feel it exude out, and feel the energy flow within you. For the next moment, I'm just going to be quiet as you connect with your heart center. And you take some deep breaths, filling your stomach up with air and then releasing it. Take intentional breaths. Connect with your heart and feel that light green, light pink energy, that crystal energy truly exude out of your heart center and flood your body with love. And tell yourself, I am loved. I am sensual. I am powerful. It is safe for me to surrender. I trust myself and I am learning to trust others. I am safe in this body. I am connected with Source. I have everything I need within me. And as you take a big deep breath in, I want you just to release your hands, palms facing upwards, drop your chin to your chest, bob it side to side, wiggle your fingers and your toes, and open up your eyes. Just think that was just a few moments of your time to connect with your heartbeat, to really pause and soften. When we soften our heart, when we open our heart up to connect, we put new lenses on. We're able to see things differently. And when we see things differently, we can connect with people differently. We can connect with them from a heart center. And from a woman who, by the way, like, our house is in my name. I was a breadwinner for 3.5 years, vehicles, boats. I can say right now, it's from coming back home to myself that allowed for me to achieve that success, while also being able to surrender into the arms of my amazing partner, heal from infidelity, and have a marriage so strong that's built on such a solid foundation, because I chose to do that. I chose to release, to let go. I chose to unapologetically vocalize what I'm okay with and what I'm not, Whereas before I was afraid that if I said what I wanted, he would run. If I said what I liked, he would run. I'd be too much. I'd be too bright. I would scare him away from my power. Love you, Cynthia. When in fact, the opposite happens. I close the deal. I have a better marriage than ever before. I have amazing 2 little boys. We were just at the park last night, dancing around. There's like the water. We're in the park. We're having so much fun, laughing, playing, creating a 6-figure coaching business to help women all over the world create magical lives far beyond their wildest dreams, and helping them release and anchor into their power, their strength, and knowing that by being their unapologetic selves, the best is yet to come. And so, thank you, Nicole. Love you. And that's the thing. If this resonated with you, if you're like, Jen, I want more, I want to invite you, connect with me, come talk with me. If you're like, Jen, I would love to work with you privately, or if you're like, oh my gosh, you'd be a great speaker for my event, reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you and to see if we're a good fit for each other. If you are really looking to truly reclaim that sacred sexuality, set healthy boundaries, create solid standards, and truly become your unapologetic selves by allowing people to see how beautiful, how amazing, how wonderful you are. Because by you being your full, amazing, authentic self, your relationships are going to strengthen. You are going to live a life that is so beautiful that it's going to bring you to tears. And I absolutely love what I get to do. And so if you feel called, reach out to me. We can talk, be a 2-way conversation, and we can see if we're a good fit for each other, and really create that package that is best fit for your needs so that you can achieve the results and that you want to achieve. And if you're looking for a speaker for an event, please reach out to me. I love speaking. I love sharing, and I love serving and letting women know what is truly possible. You can be empowered. You can be sexual. You can be truly in your power as a sensual being. You can be a loving mom, and you can be your sacred sexual self. And you can be sober. It is all possible, but there are tools, there are methods, there's all the things. So let me know, reach out to me. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. It's been amazing getting to speak to all of you today. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for having me today. I so appreciate it.
Oh my God. Oh, Jen Stoney, your heart, your tears, your soul, your story. What I love so much is that Jen is such a beautiful example of what it means to be a future self, to understand what was in the past and choosing to create a new vestibule of now. What do I want to be? What's the future version of me? And what she talked about, which is so beautiful, that acronym WAIT, why am I talking? Why am I talking? Using our own ability to moderate our emotions, to say, what position am I in right now in relationship to this moment? Now, I'm not speaking from all the garbage of my past, but instead I'm being present in this moment. And the beautiful thing about being present in this moment, in an empty vestibule of now, the garbage of the past isn't there. And what we have is the ability to pull things from the future into the present because there's space. And what Jen also talked about is that serving is the way to abundance. If you were part of the opening ceremony last night, we talked a lot about moving from getting to giving. Mm-hmm. and how we understand that when our cup is full, we don't need to keep pouring. So Jen, thank you so much. I just have one question for you. So many people are in tears. There's so many beautiful comments. You made a transition at some point from being in the automotive industry to actually being a coach, someone who's decided to dedicate their life to helping others. I'd love to hear what that transition was like for you. How did it come to you? What happened?
So I was coaching consistently about 9 women while working 60 hours a week in the auto industry, also being the breadwinner, also being a mom. And so I was serving and coaching consistently and seeing my clients get all these results. What I did was, after we had our second son, I thought my true calling was to be a stay-at-home mom. I thought that was the rainbows and butterflies, because that's what my mom did. And so I did it for a year. And I was like, this is not my path. And God told me to take my business online and to start serving women in a higher capacity all around the world instead of just in my community. And so I listened, and I kept showing up even when it wasn't like, when the numbers weren't there. And I knew that if I just kept showing up and serving, and knowing that my voice and my story and my tools that I use each and every day, and the tools that are channeled through me and given to me, I can share those tools with the world. And so it was truly, I love giving, I love serving, it fills me up. And so I kept showing up. And today I created a 6-figure coaching business, and I have a beautiful business today. And I love it because Cynthia's coming on after, and she was my mentor for 1.5 years. So it's a beautiful, beautiful gift, and to get to serve and to get to watch women break generational trauma, tell people no, and truly reach out to me and say, I met the man of my dreams because we worked together. And then other women saying, like, I broke up with this guy because we worked together. I'm not in a rush to get married anymore because we worked together. Like, it's nothing, like, it's such a gift. And then to get to be friends with you, like, what a gift, like, through soul sisters. And I love it.
I love how deeply connected you are to your heart. I always say that sometimes tears are drops of love.
Mm.
And when you shed those tears, I can feel them, the ones that are honoring the sadness of the past, the ones that are grateful for what you've created, the ones that are so full of love because of this life and how much you love living it now.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart with all of us. I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful to call you my friend. I love who you are as a human being. Let's celebrate Jen Stoney. And thank you for being part of the future her. This is how we make it happen.
Thank you
Love
so much
you.
for having me. Love you, woman. Bye. Thank you, everyone.